My name is Kelly, and I would like to start off by saying that I am creating this video on my own will. Nobody's asking me to do this. Nobody's forcing me to do this. I am doing this because I am a victim of wrongful foreclosures by one of the big banks, Bank of America, and not just one wrongful foreclosure, but multiple wrongful foreclosures. I am doing this because I feel like I have lost the American dream, the American dream that we as American citizens have always felt that we have living in this country. I apologize for the lengthiness of this, but it is a story that has to be told and has to be exposed because I have sat back for the last few years and I've lived through this nightmare quietly on my own, and I'm hoping that by doing this that somebody within the media will want to do a story on this because I have a very unique story. Like I said, I have multiple foreclosures on one home by one bank that has literally destroyed every aspect of my life over the last 3 years. I wrote a letter that I wanted to send out to the media, so I'm going to actually read directly from this just for time purposes. I purchased a home in Houston, Texas back in 2005. When I bought this home, I put a very large down payment on it and I had a lot of equity in it. I was never even close to being upside down on this house. As we all know, our nationwide economy took a drastic toll over the last few years. I've always been self-employed, so as a small business owner, the economy hit me a lot harder than many people who have regular 9-to-5 jobs. I own a small bookkeeping company, and the majority of my clients have always been within the construction industry. Therefore, my business was hit a lot harder. As a result, I became a homeowner who found it more and more difficult to make ends meet each month. And to make matters worse, Bank of America increased the interest rate on my mortgage because it was an adjustable rate. We had moved back to Arizona at one point because of a family emergency. However, we moved back to Houston in February of 2009, which was also the month that they raised the interest on my mortgage. Unfortunately, we could not stay in Houston because my daughter, Brianne, who is special needs, was a junior in high school at that time, and the school district by our house would not accept all of the credits from her school in Arizona, and additionally, they also required more credits to graduate than they did in Arizona. So because of all of that, that would require an additional 1.5 years of high school for her to graduate, and we had already retained her once before, so she was already a year behind. So we decided as a family to move back to Phoenix temporarily until Brianne graduated. In April of 2009, I called Bank of America to let them know about the financial difficulties I was having. They informed me that to start a loan modification process, I had to be behind on my mortgage. So I hired a third-party loan processor, Insignia, to handle the loan modification for me. I had not missed any payments yet, so I decided to go ahead and miss the payment in May of 2009, as they had instructed me to do so that I could qualify for the loan modification process, and at the same time, it would also help me that month financially. However, missing my payment stressed me out tremendously because in my 20-plus years of home ownership, I had never, ever missed a payment before. So I managed to scrape the money together and made the payment in June, and therefore, Bank of America ended up denying my loan modification process because I was no longer behind on my mortgage. So from July 2009 forward, I ended up not making the payments to continue forward with the loan modification, and again, it was just helping me out financially anyways. On January 4th, 2010, Bank of America informed me that my loan modification had been approved. The following day, they confirmed it with Insignia that the loan modification had been approved. I also want to say that when we went back to Phoenix, I also ended up renting out my house because I didn't want it to sit empty. It did sit empty for a while, but I eventually put tenants in the house. So on February 10, 2010, my tenants informed me that a notice of foreclosure had been posted on the house. I was completely and utterly shocked. It was completely not what I had expected. I was expecting the packet in the mail that they had promised me back in January after they told me that my loan modification had been approved. So right away I was on the phone with Insignia, and they told me not to worry about it. Obviously there had been a big error and it could be fixed. But that was the start of my nightmarish hell that I've had to endure over the last almost 3 years. From February 2010 through July of 2010, I made many, many attempts to get this detrimental error fixed with Bank of America. Bank of America contradicted just about everything that they were telling me. They admitted that the foreclosure was an error on their part. They blatantly lied to me for months, February, March, April, May, June, July of 2010, about the rescission. After they admitted that the foreclosure was an error, they informed me that the loan modification was then approved again, and I was to begin making my trial modification payments. At first, they told me that my first payment was due on April 1st. Then on March 3rd, they instructed me to send my first trial payment immediately, which had to be a cashier's check. So I sent them a cashier's check via postal mail right away. There was even an issue where to send the payments to. I was given several different addresses, so finally I just picked one and mailed it. On March 15, 2010, I received a voicemail from Bank of America stating that they had not received my first payment and that if they didn't receive it within 24 hours, they were going to start the foreclosure process again. So I called the bank and verified that they had cashed the check. Then I turned around and called Bank of America and told them, you guys received it, you cashed it, what's going on? After spending quite a bit of time on the phone with her, she miraculously found the payment and told me that it just had not been applied correctly. So after that, after the first payment, they said I could send in a personal check. Only the first check had to be by certified funds, so I went ahead and sent in my second payment by personal check. And as I watched for that to clear the bank, I didn't see it clear the bank. So I ended up calling Bank of America about the second payment, and they could not find that payment. So they told me not to send in a replacement check for it. They said that they were going to research it. They even sent me a letter in the mail saying that they were researching this issue and would follow up with me within 20 days. I never heard anything else from them regarding that payment. At that same time, I asked them if I could go ahead and make the third payment over the phone because I figured by paying it over the phone, they can't lose it. So I went ahead and did an electronic payment over the phone. However, it took, I believe, about 11 days for that payment to post to my bank account. And you and I both know that anytime you make an electronic payment over the phone, it typically hits your bank account right then at that same time or at least within 24 hours. So it's almost like when they do receive a payment from you, they're trying to decide whether or not they should accept the payment, whether they should apply it against your account, or if they should just make it disappear and foreclose on your house. All along, they kept telling me that they would send me the packet that would finalize the loan modification. I never received it. I kept asking them for proof of rescission and never received it. I was becoming very leery of everything that they were telling me and concerned that I was making payments on a house that I did not own. I told them that I would not continue to make payments until they could provide me with proof of the rescission. Shortly after that, I received a demand to vacate premises posted on my house. So my intuition was correct. They had been lying to me the entire time about the rescission. Bank of America owned my house, and they were profusely lying to me about rescinding their admitted foreclosure error. So I then contacted another third-party loan officer to do a three-way call with me to Bank of America, and we asked them again if they had rescinded the foreclosure, and they continued to lie to me and confirmed the rescission. Since I could not get the truth from Bank of America and they were continually misplacing my payments, they would not provide me with proof of rescission, they would not send me the packet, I then proceeded to write a letter to the President of Bank of America, Brian Monahan, on July 26, 2010. I felt that I had no other choice and needed to get this rectified. I gave Mr. Monahan 20 days to rectify their error or I would seek legal remedies. 20 days came and went, and I didn't hear anything from him until I received a letter from his office on September 27, 2010, 2 months after I sent the initial letter to him. By then, I had already sought legal counsel and had retained an attorney. In the letter dated September 20th, 2010, the CEO and President of Bank of America acknowledges receipt of my letter. They indirectly admit the foreclosure was an error by stating, after further review, it was confirmed by foreclosure specialists that a rescission was sent to LandSafe Title for recording on August 12, 2010. He goes on to state, we regret this situation may have caused confusion and delay in this case. We assure you that the situation you described is not typical of the quality of service we are committed to providing, and this is an isolated incident. We sincerely regret any inconvenience that you have experienced, and we are working to resolve this matter for you as quickly as possible. After we moved back to Arizona for my daughter to finish high school, we moved into a rental property since I already owned a home in Houston, and we knew we would be moving back. I have had to move 4 additional times since then because the homes I rent end up foreclosing. So through no fault of my own, we've had to move over and over and over. We had to move in February 2011, and at that point, nobody would rent to me because of the multiple foreclosures on my credit. The only way for me to rent was through someone I knew. We had to move again back this past July, and I only had a couple options at that point, an extended stay hotel or a vacation rental, both of which do not check your credit. So we are now living in a vacation rental. We put all of our belongings into a storage, and we are literally living out of our suitcases. We were extremely confident that we would have stability being in a vacation rental, but guess what? We were just informed a couple days ago that we have to move out of this vacation rental. So once again, we are being forced to move through no fault of our own. This is the 5th rental since B of A foreclosed on my home. We do not have a place to go. We do not know what we are going to do. This is part of the domino of effects. Had Bank of America not done what they did to me, had they already settled this legal matter, I would be in my own home right now and would not have to continue moving over and over and over. I am at my wit's end now. I cannot believe what has happened to me, my kids, my home, my life. I feel like I have lost everything. I have spent the last 2.5 years in a fog, even worse than I felt when Bank of America initially foreclosed on my home. At least at that point, I knew that there was a chance at rectifying the situation. Since then, they've sold my house to somebody else. And since then, we've had to move over and over and over and over and over through no fault of my own. My credit has slowly been destroyed by having multiple foreclosures on my credit. I've had to spend every last penny I've had to move over and over and over. And from all of the repercussions of Bank of America's admitted wrongful foreclosure, it has taken a toll on me emotionally and physically. I've ended up back on my heart medication that I had not been on since 1999. I've dealt with headaches, nausea. I'm on nausea medication often. It's all the stress, the instability of having to move over and over, not knowing if we're going to have a roof over our head each day, not knowing where we're going to go. Again, we're being forced out of this place. We don't know where we're going to go. And they're trying to tell me, why would that be stressful? That's what they just told me last week. Why would having to move over and over again, why would that be stressful on you? Due to the hardened economy in this entire mess, I've not been able to afford health insurance, so I've racked up a lot of medical bills, all the medication I have to get each month, and this is all a direct ramification of what they've done to me. Every time we've had to move, we've ended up having to downsize, and you know what downsizing means? It means that we don't have room for all of our belongings. We've had to continually get rid of stuff, give things away, try and sell things and at least get money for it because we don't have room for it. We've gone from 3,000 square feet down to 1,200 square feet. That's almost just a third of what we're typically used to. I've had to, when we moved from the last house into this vacation rental, I had to give up my grill, my refrigerator, half of my office furniture, we couldn't fit it all in the moving truck, and we had no choice but to leave it at the curb. It just seems like I'm the one continually giving up stuff, all while Bank of America just sits back and goes on with their life, and I don't know. I just think that one thing that I can say for sure is, what hasn't these multiple wrongful foreclosures affected in my life? Absolutely nothing. It has affected every single aspect of my life. Bank of America admitted their accidental foreclosure on my home. They never even served me with any of the required legal notices prior to foreclosing, prior to a trustee sale, all of which is illegal. They continually lied to me, misled me, used my lack of knowledge of the process and industry to take my home from me in a very cruel and malicious manner. I've spent the last 2.5 years trying to fix it. I gave Bank of America every chance to voluntarily rectify it to no avail. Bank of America has blatantly lied to me with promises of rescission and has now sold my house. And the ramifications of their admitted errors have continued to haunt me to this very day. In one fell swoop, they began to slowly destroy my life back in February 2010. And here we are in September of 2012, and my life is nothing compared to what it was before Bank of America destroyed it.